Hi there Waltoners, I'm Jack and this is DSNY Newscast, and today I want to talk about the new Indiana Jones attraction that's going to be coming to Walt Disney World next year in 2027. And this has actually been a long time coming here, at least on the channel, as it was way back in 2018 that I spoke about this being a rumoured ride replacement for Dinosaur, way back then, about Indiana Jones being one of the projects that was being considered. And now, all of these years later, it's finally happening and the transformation is underway. And this isn't just going to be a clone of the Indiana Jones Adventure attraction in Disneyland. Instead, this is going to be its own unique attraction to Animal Kingdom, with a bespoke storyline and brand new theming within the attraction itself. So I want to discuss all of that later on in the video and what we know about that, but where I want to begin is actually a construction update, as quite a lot has already happened in terms of construction on this project since Dinosaur closed, as it was February 1st, 2026 that Dinosaur sadly went extinct at Animal Kingdom, and then later on that week the walls went up and the construction work began on this project. And unlike Encanto, where you can quite easily see a lot of the construction from within the park itself on the bridge leading into the Tropical Americas area, when it comes to Indiana Jones, it's so far back into that corner that you can't see anything from the ground view perspective. So we've got to go to the skies, and I want to say a special thanks to BioReconstruct over on Twitter and also now on Instagram as well for these aerial images. On February 13th, we got these photos that showed that Aladar and the reflecting pool had surprisingly already been completely removed in a very short period of time, with the ground being levelled and prepped ready for future construction. Then on February 28th, in these photos, we can see that much of the rest of the theming for the Dino Institute was being removed, along with the Dinosaur replica dinosaur skeleton, which had also been safely removed from the entrance courtyard. But then a couple of weeks on from then, March 13th, we got this new aerial update from BioReconstruct that shows that foundation work has already begun on the new temple exterior for the Indiana Jones attraction. And as you can see, there's 3 separate foundational forms being put into place there, likely for what will be a concrete pour that will act as the base for the large Mayan temple that's going to block the previous attraction exterior of the Dino Institute. So you won't be able to see any of the building there, it's just going to be all themed to this kind of Mayan temple exterior for the Indiana Jones attraction, as we can see in the artwork that's been previously released. But whilst we're speaking about this temple, elsewhere at Animal Kingdom, BioReconstruct took some photos of the offices for Imagineering backstage behind the back of Carle River Rapids, and Imagineering's been conducting these weather tests on the themed finishes that will be on the exteriors of the buildings for Tropical America. So what we're likely looking at here includes the exterior for the Encanto attraction and the temple rockwork for the Indy attraction. But what's extremely interesting here is that you can also clearly see that there are some steel mesh frames, or otherwise known as chips within Imagineering or themed entertainment, that are the prefabricated rockwork pieces that will form the Mayan temple exterior. And this is very important, as 2027 is supposedly when this attraction is going to open. They've stated that date time and time again. Until they say otherwise, it's opening in 2027. And so they are prefabricating this off-site and then going to bring it in and install it and implement it in place for the exterior. So it will really quicken the pace of construction and get this project turned around a lot faster. And speaking of that, let's talk about the construction time frame. Realistically, going off previous attraction openings, Disney like to open things in summer for the summer crowds, and they like to have things open by fall at the very latest, ready for the holiday crowds as well. And so my own personal speculation here is they might be targeting, let's say, fall of 2027, which is September 2027, which gives them roughly around 18 months to get this whole thing turned around and open. And if you think that's a very quick turnaround time, previous projects have actually done it in a much quicker turnaround. As if you remember the transformation from Tower of Terror to Mission Breakout, that was actually under 6 months. It closed in January of 2017 and it then opened in May of 2017. So it was just shy of 6 months. And even Splash Mountain into Tiana's Bayou Adventure, from when it closed, which was January 2023, to when it opened in June of 2024, that was only 18 months. And so this construction time frame seems feasible and looks like they are really aiming for 2027 here. And another part of this whole thing that might quicken the pace of construction is the fact that Disney is now using 3D printing for the show set pieces within attractions. As recently on LinkedIn, Imagineering posted a video that showed the first fully 3D printed showpiece being installed into a Disney attraction, which was a boat within Disneyland's Jungle Cruise attraction. And within this video, it was announced that Disney had partnered with HADI, which specializes in large format additive manufacturing, which is basically large scale 3D printing. And as you can see in this video, they can print things as large as yachts and boats and things like that. And so you can just imagine the possibilities of what Disney can 3D print for the attractions here using this large format additive manufacturing. And obviously this is just my own speculation here that they might be using this for the Indiana Jones attraction, but if they're using it for the Jungle Cruise attraction at Disneyland, and that was the first 3D printed showpiece, I got to imagine that they are using this for a lot of the attractions in the future as well. And this is a big deal, as it gives Imagineering the capability to 3D print the basis for the showpiece, and then they have to go in there later and add in all the additional themed finishes to make it show ready. But by doing this, they can design it in 3D, in a digital render, send it over to their labs to get it 3D printed. As last year when I was on the Imagineering tour, we walked past a room that was being prepped with 3D printers. So therefore, Imagineering are using a lot of 3D printing for scale models of these, attraction vehicles and all different aspects of rides here. And then they can then look at it in the real world, make the modifications, digitally, and then send it over to HADI to have it printed out exactly as it should appear in 3D. But the other big aspect of this is that if there's ever a show set piece that is damaged in any way, they can just pull up that digital render, send it over to HADI and get it printed again and get it back into the attraction in a quicker turnaround time. So this is going to be revolutionary for the themed entertainment industry, but specifically Imagineering, considering they are using this, as we saw in that video posted to LinkedIn. And so that's all the construction that we can talk about right now. But now let's talk about the ride narrative, the storyline, the backstory for this attraction. As back at D23 in 2024, we received this official description on Disney Parks blog for what they said is a new Indy experience coming to Animal Kingdom that will be different from any other Indiana Jones experience around the world. So once again, confirmed there, this is going to be new and different from Disneyland's version of the attraction. And in this new venture, Indy has recently discovered a perfectly preserved Maya temple, and he's heard rumours about a mythical creature deep within the temple itself. Now, that is all we've got to go off in terms of the official description for this attraction. And so we know it's going to be involving the Mayan culture and the Maya temple within the actual attraction itself. And we know there's going to be some sort of mythical creature within this temple. So that's all we know so far. But here's the interesting thing, as last year in February 2025, there was a new conference that was held at the Coronado Springs Resort at Walt Disney World, and it was called the Maya at the Mouse Conference. It brought together archaeologists, museologists, Imagineers and designers to discuss Mayan culture and storytelling. But I want to give a special thanks to Len Tester of touringplans.com, because Len was invited to attend the inaugural conference last year in 2025, where he was allowed to take some photos of the presentation by Walt Disney Imagineering about the research going into this Indiana Jones attraction. And also he attended this year in 2026, but importantly there was an NDA this year which restricted him from sharing details or any photos from the presentation from this year's conference. But let's discuss last year's presentation, as Imagineering have apparently taken many research trips to the Yucatan Peninsula within Mexico, and has been visiting all the various Mayan temples and ruins within that region. And specifically, they've noted that they are drawing upon the Chichen Itza temple for inspiration for this new fictional temple that will be found within tropical Americas. Now, within this presentation, they revealed some details about the exterior for the attraction, and it gives us a lot of hints to what we can expect within the actual ride itself in terms of the storyline. As you can see here within this slide, that there's a 3D rendered CAD image showing the intricate and highly detailed exterior of this Mayan temple. And obviously none of this is finalized artwork, but what's interesting to note here is that you can see there's kind of a serpent figure that's adorning both sides of the steps there leading up to the top of the temple. And this is reminiscent in many ways of the Chichen Itza with the Mayan god of Kukulkan, which is a feathered serpent that is within that temple exterior there. Now in this next slide, it shows 3 distinct realms within the Mayan culture. And it shows us the upper world, the middle world, and the underworld. And the upper world is the home of the gods within Mayan culture. The middle world is the home of man, which is Earth. And then the underworld is the home of the afterlife, or home of the deceased within Mayan culture. And as we can see within the artwork shown for this attraction, the color palette has meaning, as it has white, yellow, red, and black, and each one of those represent north, east, south, and west. And this ties into the whole underworld aspect of this whole thing, because according to Mayan scripture, the gods planted 5 yach trees, which are the trees of creation. And they planted them in the north, the east, the south, and the west. But then it was the 5th tree, which was planted right in the middle, which is the saber tree, which has roots that go down to the underworld, and the branches then reach up to the heavens, and it acts as the sacred connector between the 3 realms. And the next slide shows that the temple has the tree of life within the exterior facade there. Now, this isn't the tree of life that we know at Animal Kingdom, you know, the icon of the park, but it's the tree of life from Mayan culture, which is the 5th tree planted in the middle, which connects the underworld and the heavens, and it's the way the Mayan gods can travel to the human world. But also, within the artwork that's been released for one of the show scenes within the attraction, it shows us that this tree of life, this 5th tree, the connector between realms, is shown within the artwork itself there. So clearly it's going to have a very important role to play within the attraction. Now, the Witz monster is what I want to focus in on here, because this is also known as the cosmic serpent, or the serpent god. And the Witz monster is a powerful entity within Mayan culture, which symbolizes the duality of life, between life and death, creation and destruction, day and night. Now, in this other slide, we can see the temple in day and night. And obviously this isn't finalized artwork, but it is important to note that the Witz monster there at the top has a mouth that opens as a gateway to the underworld. So it could also be that they're going to bring in the underworld in a bigger way into this attraction. And what I want to make a note of here is on the construction walls for the area, they've got bats, which are also represented within Mayan culture as the guardians of the underworld. So I think the underworld is going to play a pretty pivotal role within the higher stakes of the attraction. And so where does this leave us in terms of the ride story? Well, all of this, I reckon, will come together for kind of a conservation angle tied back to Animal Kingdom. As I know lots of people think, you know, just snakes is what's going to tie it back to Animal Kingdom, but I think Imagineering are looking at a more layered storytelling approach here in terms of conservation, because let's say it is about the Witz monster and the duality of nature and all that sort of stuff. If it is going to be about disrupting the balance of nature and how much of a fine balance nature is and all that sort of stuff, then if something occurs, a little bit like staring into the eyes of Mara within the Forbidden Eye attraction over at Disneyland, if that occurs within the attraction, that could lead to a series of events. But the overall message could be about how delicate the balance of nature is and how we need to protect that. It's just my own speculation, but just based upon what we can see here with the different Mayan gods that will be represented supposedly from this research shown for the attraction. Now, when it comes to similarities back to the Disneyland version of this attraction, obviously they share the same exact enhanced motion vehicle, and the attraction size is the same. It's around 80,000 square feet between the two attractions, but the track layout are ever so slightly different. And where it's ever so slightly different is, for an example, the bridge scene, which is pretty iconic from the Disneyland version of this attraction. And that is not going to be found necessarily within this attraction, as where the bridge scene takes place is located within the building in Disneyland. That part of the building in Walt Disney World is where the kind of staircase coming down to the loading area and unload area is for the dinosaur attraction. So they'd have to make some pretty massive modifications to the building itself to make that bridge scene happen within this attraction, which is not going to be a clone, so why would they make that bridge scene happen within this attraction? But then the other thing is the rolling boulder effect that is iconic within Indiana Jones Adventure. That same exact part of the building is there within the dinosaur attraction building. So I think it could make a lot of sense if you put that into this attraction. Even though it is the same as Disneyland, I think a lot of people would love to have that be the crescendo, the finale of the attraction, with that iconic rolling boulder coming towards the enhanced motion vehicle. And it's just iconic, you know, from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And the last thing I want to note here is that this is most likely going to be Indiana Jones of Raiders of the Lost Ark era Indiana Jones. It's not going to be Indiana Jones from Dial of Destiny or even Crystal Skull within this attraction. It's probably going to be the Indiana Jones from Raiders of the Lost Ark, or maybe Temple of Doom within this attraction. It's going to be that era of Indiana Jones. I don't think there's going to be time travel like we saw within Dial of Destiny, the most recent Indiana Jones movie, as I know a lot of people would probably like to see dinosaurs within this attraction, but I think it's highly unlikely there's going to be any involvement of dinosaurs or any sort of time travel going on within this attraction. That's just my own feeling towards where they're going with rooting this in reality of the Mayan culture and stuff like that for this attraction. And personally, I can't wait to see this open in 2027. But now it's over to you, Waltoniers. I would like to know, what are your thoughts and opinions on this new Indiana Jones attraction coming to Walt Disney World? What would you like to see in terms of the ride storyline or even the theming? What kind of special effects would you like to see within this new Indiana Jones attraction? And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe down below, hit the notification bell, and check out the rest of the videos on this channel. And I also want to say a massive thank you to the official Waltoneer Club over on Patreon for always supporting this channel. It's greatly appreciated. And also a huge shout out to the official Waltoneer Gold members that you can see here on the screen as well, along with Waltoneer Diamond members JC Russell, Justin Tupper, Tim and Stephen Parsons. And with that being said for today, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.